Hi everyone, in this video we will be discussing the previous year questions from the topic Classical Theory of Output and Employment. So we have already completed the lectures on this particular topic and now we will focus on the previous year questions. So we will discuss those questions in a very detailed manner. So we will move on to the questions. So the first question, so this was asked in the year 2012 June paper 2. So the classical economist focused on the role of money as a medium of exchange, medium of distribution, wealth, and finally link between present and future. So the role of money according to classical economist. So that is the question asked here. So one of the major assumptions of classical economics is that the quantity of money is given and money is only the medium of exchange. So according to classical economics, the quantity of money supply is constant and money is considered as a medium of exchange. So the only role of money in the economy is to exchange goods and services to be used as a medium of exchange. So that is the only role of money. So money doesn't have any other kind of purposes like investment or any other sort of activities, cannot be used for any other sort of activities. So the only role of money is to use it for transaction of goods and services. So money will remain as a medium of exchange according to classical economists. So that is the only function of money, to be a medium of exchange. So the answer to the question is option A, medium of exchange. So according to classical economists, the role of money is to be a medium of exchange in the transaction of goods and services. So the answer is option A, and this is one of the major assumptions of classical economics. Second question. So this question was asked in the year 2012 December paper 2. So the question is, the features of the classical system are option A, monetary factors determine output and employment, option B, self-adjusting mechanism of the economy, option C, state action to direct development, and finally option D, optimization through market in the absence of state control. So the question is about features of the classical system. So we have 4 options. So we'll check each option and we'll find out the answer. The first option, monetary factors determine output and employment. That is absolutely wrong. We know that according to classical dichotomy, there are 2 sides of the economy. One is the real side and the nominal side. And the nominal side would never influence the real side. So the the real factors or the real variables like output and employment are influenced by supply side factors like production function and the labor market. So the nominal side or the financial side would never influence the real factors like employment and output, and that is classical dichotomy. And also there is laissez-faire capitalist economy without government interference. So the economy is free from any sort of government control. The economy is absolutely free, and there is wage price flexibility and also interest rate flexibility. So the economy is free and the economy or the market is totally controlled by the market forces itself. So the variables are free and it's totally under the influence of market. So coming back to the question, option A, monetary factors determine output and employment is wrong. That particular thing is wrong according to classical economics and classical dichotomy. So option A is not the feature of classical system. Now option B, self-adjusting mechanism of the economy, that is absolutely correct, because the market is free and the variables are controlled by the market forces itself, and each variables have its own ability to adjust itself according to the conditions of the market. So self-adjusting mechanism of the economy is absolutely correct. The variables have self-adjusting mechanism. Now C, state action to direct development. No, that is absolutely wrong according to classical economics, because there is no government intervention and the market is free. Option D, optimization through market in the absence of state control. That is absolutely correct. There is laissez-faire economy, the market is free and market is controlled by market forces itself. So out of 4 options, only 2 are correct. Option B and option D are correct. So the correct option is option C, that is B and D. So correct answer to this question is option C, B and D. So B and D are the features of classical system, and option A and C are not correct. Option B and D are correct. So correct answer to this question is option C. Okay, the next question. So this question was asked in the year 2014 December paper 2. So the question is, assuming wage price flexibility, The classical economist asserted that a decline in money, wage and price would lead to option A, unemployment, option B, deflation, option C, high level of employment and output, and finally option D, unemployment and decline in output. So the question is, what happens when wage and price declines according to classical economist? We will see that. So whenever labor supply is high, the money wage rate would comes down. So the question is about money wage rate or the wage rate. What happens when the wage rate declines? So when labor supply is high, the wage rate would decline. So when wage rate declines, the real wage rate also decline. So it starts from labor supply. When labor supply increases, money wage rate decreases. That will leads to decrease in real wage rate, and that will leads to increase in the demand for labor, and that will leads to increase in employment and finally increase in output. So when money wage rate declines, that will leads to a decline in real wage rate, and whenever real wage rate declines, that will leads to increase in the demand for labor. So when money wage rate or the real wage rate declines, the cost of production would be less. So the wages that is paying to the laborers by the producers would be less. So that will encourage the producers to employ more and more laborers, because they only need to pay a little amount as wage for the laborers. So number of employment or the demand for the employment will increases, and demand for labor will increases. That will leads to increase in employment. That will further leads to increase in output. So whenever money wage rate decreases, that will leads to increase in employment and output according to classical economist. So the correct answer to that question is option C. Assuming wage price flexibility, the classical economist asserted that a decline in money wage and price would lead to. So the correct answer is option C, high level of employment and output. So when wage rate and prices declines in the economy, then the level of employment and output would increase in the economy according to classical economists. So the correct answer is option C. So in order to answer that question, we can see this relationship. When labor supply is high, money wage rate would decline. That will leads to decline in real wage rate. When real wage rate declines, that would encourage the producers to employ more and more laborers. So the demand for labor will increases. That will leads to increase in employment and further increase in output. So when wages and prices are less in the economy, that would leads to increase in employment and output. So correct answer is option C. We will move on to the next question. So this question was asked in 2014 December, paper 3. So the question is, an increase in the quantity of money in classical macro system will leads to increase in the quantity of money. That is, when money supply increases, what happens to classical macro system? Option 1, the first one is increase in the price level. Second one is no change in the price level. Third one is level of output and employment do not change. And the fourth one is an increase in employment and output. So what is the correct answer to this question? So here also the notion of classical dichotomy will comes into the picture. According to classical dichotomy, there is two sides of the economy. One is the real side and the nominal side. And the real side have variables like output and employment, and the real side variables like output and employment are influenced by the supply side or the real side, and the nominal side would never influences the real side or the real factors like output and employment. So nominal side would nominal variables are only influenced by nominal variables, and nominal variables would never influences the real side. So employment is determined in the labor market, that is the real side. Output is determined by the aggregate production function, that is also the real side. And we have also know there is neutrality of money in classical economics. According to neutrality of money, the idea is that a change in the stock of money affects only nominal variables in the economy such as prices, wages and exchange rate, with no effect on real variables like employment, real GDP and real consumption. So in order to answer that question, we should know two factors. One is classical dichotomy and the other one is neutrality of money. So neutrality of money basically says that money affects only the nominal variables in the economy such as prices, wages and exchange rate, and that would never influences the real side. So now coming back to the question, an increase in the quantity of money in the classical macro system will result in increase in the price level. That is absolutely correct, because money quantity of money is a nominal factor. So nominal factor will influence the nominal side variables, and price is a nominal side variable. So whenever quantity of money increases in the economy, according to classical system, there will be increase in the price level. no change in the price level, that is also correct. That is wrong. No price in the price level is wrong. That second option or second statement is wrong. There will be changes in the price level when quantity of money changes in the economy. So, second statement is wrong. The third one, level of output and employment do not change. That is absolutely correct, because any change in the nominal side would never influences the real variables like output and employment. So, the level of output and employment do not change. So, that is absolutely correct. And finally, an increase in employment and output, that is wrong, because the nominal side would never influences the real factors like employment and output. So, out of 4 statements, only 2 statements are correct, that is 1 and 3. There will be increase in the price level when quantity of money increases, and level of output and employment do not change. When quantity of money increases, the level of output and employment do not change. So, the correct answers are 1 and 3. So, statement 1 and 3 are correct. So, the correct option out of these two are option D, that is 1 and 3. So, option D is the correct answer to this question. So, in order to answer this question, we should know what is classical dichotomy. Also, we should have an idea about neutrality of money. So, the correct answer is option D. Moving on, the next question, 2015 June paper 2. So, the question is, in the classical macro system, money determines. So, this question is similar to the previous question. In the classical macro system, money determines, that is, money is a nominal side variable or a financial side variable. The first one employment, second one real output, third one both 1 and 2, fourth one neither 1 and 2. So, according to classical dichotomy and neutrality of money, nominal side or the financial side would never influences real variables like output or employment. So, the correct answer to this question is option 4, neither 1 or 2, because we know that according to classical dichotomy and neutrality of money, money determines only the nominal variables, not the real variables. Here employment and real output are the real variables. So, money never influences real variables. So, the correct answer is option 1 and 2. To answer this question also, we should know what is classical dichotomy and what is neutrality of money. So, the correct answer is option 4, neither 1 or 2. Moving on, 2015 June paper 2. In the classical macro system, money determines which of the following. So, this question is very much similar to the previous question. The question is very much similar, only the options are different. The first one, output and prices, second one, employment and prices, third one, output and employment, and finally prices. So, in classical macro system, money determines which of the following. For this question also, we need to know what is classical dichotomy and what is neutrality of money. So, since we have already discussed classical dichotomy and neutrality of money in one of the previous questions, we are not discussing it again. We are straight away coming to the answers. We know that in classical system, money determines only the nominal variables and not the real variables. So, here option 1 is output and price, where output is a real variable. So, option 1 is not correct. Option 2, employment and prices, and employment is a real variable. So, money never influences a real variable. So, option 2 is also wrong. Then we have option 3, output and employment, both output and employment are real variables and money never influences real variables. And option 4, prices, and we know that price is a nominal variable or a financial side variable, and money can influence a nominal variable. So, option 4 is correct, prices. So, in the classical macro system, money determines which of the following. The correct answer is option 4, prices. So, money can only influence the nominal variables and price is a nominal variable. The other variables in the question, output, employment, and output and employment are real variables which are not influenced by the nominal side or the money in the economy. So, correct answer is option 4. So, option 4 is the correct answer. We will move on to the next question. 2017 Jan paper 3, paper 2. The question is, classical dichotomy refers to which one of the following. So, we have to know classical dichotomy in order to answer this question, and we have already discussed what is classical dichotomy in one of the previous questions. So, there are two sectors of the economy, namely agriculture and industry, which is wrong. According to classical economy, there are two sectors, one is real sector and the other one is financial sector. So, option 1 is wrong. Second one, influence of money is not on the real variables like employment and output, but on the price level. So, option C, option 2 is absolutely correct. Influence of money is not on the real variables like employment and output, but on the price level. So, that is basically the definition of classical dichotomy. The statement 2, the option 2 is the definition of classical dichotomy. So, option 2 is absolutely correct. And 3, savings come only from profit and not from wages, that is also incorrect. Then option 4, all of the above, that is also incorrect. So, we know that what is like a classical dichotomy, the nominal variables would never influence the real variables, and the real variables are only influenced by real side factors or the supply side factors. So, option 2 is the correct answer. Classical dichotomy refers to which one of the following? Answer is option 2. Influence of money is not on the real variables like employment and output, but on the price level. 2 is the correct answer. Moving on, 2017 November paper 3. Assertion reason question. Assertion, classical macro model is decomposable into real and monetary sector. That is absolutely correct, because classical dichotomy says that there are 2 sectors in the economy, real sector and the nominal or the financial sector. So, assertion A is absolutely correct, decomposable into real and monetary sector. Then reason R, money affects both income and employment. That is absolutely wrong. Money never affects income and employment, because income and employment are real variables and money is a nominal side factor. So, money would never influences income and employment. So, option A is, so assertion is correct here. So, both A and R are true and R is not the correct explanation of A, that is absolutely wrong. Option 2, both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A, that is also wrong. A is true, but R is false. So, that is the correct answer. We know that assertion is correct, but reason is wrong. So, A is true, but R is false. And finally, option 4, A is false, but R is true. That is also incorrect. So, the correct answer is assertion is correct, reason is wrong. That is the third option. A is true, but R is false. So, the correct answer to this question is option 3. So, we have to know what is like classical dichotomy in order to answer that question. We have already discussed classical dichotomy, so I am not explaining it once again. So, correct answer is option 3. Okay, now, we will see the next question. So, this question was asked in December 2019. This is an assertion reason question. The assertion is, in classical model, investment demand is regarded as autonomous of changes in income or employment. So, assertion says that according to classical system, investment is independent of changes in income and employment, that is assertion. The reason is, it is wage price flexibility which brings full employment in the model. So, we will see what is, and the options are given. Option 1, both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Option 2, both A and R are true, R is not the correct explanation of A. Option 3, A is true, but R is false. And finally, option 4, A is false, but R is true. So, we have assertion and reason. So, we will look at the answer. So, basically, when employment and income increases according to classical system, consumption also increases, and it will also lead to an increase in savings, as the remaining money after consumption will be saved. So, whenever employment and income increases in the economy, that will lead to an increase in consumption. So, when income increases, not only consumption, at the same time savings also increases, and the money saved will be used to meet the investment demand. So, technically speaking, according to classical economists, whenever income and output or employment increases in the economy, that will lead to increase in consumption, and when income increases, the savings will also increases, and when savings increases, it automatically increases the investment in the economy. So, basically, investment demand is influenced by increase in employment and income. So, whenever employment and income increases, consumption increases, also the savings will increases, because the entire money won't be used for consumption. Some money will be remaining, that money will be saved, and that money will be used to meet investment demand. So, whenever employment and income increases, that will lead to increase in the investment demand. So, coming back to the question, assertion A, in classical model, investment demand is regarded as autonomous of changes in income or employment. So, that assertion is absolutely wrong, because the investment demand is determined by the employment and income. When employment and income increases in the economy, the savings also increases in the economy, and when savings increases, the investment demand also increases in the economy. So, assertion A is wrong. And coming to reason, it is wage price flexibility which brings full employment in the classical model. That is absolutely correct. There is laissez-faire capitalist economy in classical model, and the economy is free. Wage price flexibility is there, interest rate flexibility is there, and the market will adjust itself according to the changes happening in the variables in the market. So, reason R is correct, but assertion A is wrong. So correct answer to this question is option 4. A is false but R is true. So option 4 is the correct answer. Okay, so these were the major questions or questions from this particular topic, classical economics. I hope you have understood this particular topic and the explanation that I have given here. Thank you.